I don't think, stress only let me see road. Guy, just try this thing, just try them. Don't worry, when you take them again, you go there all right. And that's how it starts. It's not what we do once that upsets the body really, but what we do consistently. It's interesting how much stress really affects our metabolism. An overweight person who exercises is likely to live longer than a slim person who doesn't exercise. I wish people would move away from looking at tummy fat as it will spoil the look of my clothes and get to see that when you have tummy fat, it is something that the body. I had a patient that said he takes a card of tramadol, and on a normal day he can take a card and half. Occasionally, I used to take codeine. What's going on here? Why do you take it? He say, when I don't think, stress only let me see road. One of the things that would help a young adult to not use this substance is a good sense of self.
Hi, my team just pointed to me that more than 50% of you who watch our videos are not yet subscribers. Please, we'd love to encourage you to subscribe. It is how YouTube recommends more of this video to a bigger audience and more people like you. So do us this favor by subscribing today. Thank you for that. I hope you've done that. Dr. Tina Yusuf is a consultant family physician and a lifestyle expert. Today we are talking about everything about metabolism, mental health, metabolic system, and the endocrine system. So you love to stick around till the end of this video because it is loaded with information that's going to transform your health. Dr. Tina, again, welcome to the YouLab Show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So I'd like to start by asking, what is metabolism, and let's say the extension, by extension, metabolic health, and how does that contribute to what we see as overall health?
Okay, metabolism is basically how the body handles energy.
Okay.
So the way you have, for example, a car now. So the way a car handles fuel, right? Yeah. So that's what metabolism talks about, but it's about the human body. So the way the body handles energy, which is the food we eat, how the body produces its own energy, because sometimes the body has to produce its own energy, how the body stores this energy. So when you say somebody has good metabolic health, it means there's a fine balance between how the body gets energy, how the body saves the energy, and how the body uses the energy. So that's just in a nutshell what metabolism is.
Okay, and metabolic health, now referring to how the body balances this energy, right?
These things out, yes.
So interesting. So it means there is energy sources. So beyond food, what are the other energy sources to the body?
That food you put beyond the energy source. So the intake, right? Anything we put into our body, that's source of energy. So the food we eat, that's energy. But then I also mentioned that the body produces its own energy. So in times when the intake is not enough, because the body must function. So the body sometimes produces its own glucose, sometimes breaks down fat to produce energy. So that's when the body now produces energy. Then how does the body use this energy? So everything that happens in the body requires energy. Your breathing, the movement of the intestines, your movements, basic activities, everything requires energy. So how the body now uses this energy it has gotten is part of metabolism, metabolic health, really.
Okay, so when we say someone has dysfunctional metabolic system or metabolic health, what does that mean? And take us through the stages of how it starts to occur and when it finally, what we now see as complete metabolic breakdown.
Okay, so when somebody has dysfunction, it means something has upset this balance. So either the person is taking in too much food, so too much food in the sense that we're eating more than the body requires. The energy requirements of a 55-year-old man is different from that of an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Because the 11-year-old boy will run, will jump, will talk and talk and talk.
Yeah.
But the 55-year-old man will mostly sit down or lie down and is not as active as that young boy. So by the time you now have an older adult eating, so that means the person is taking in more than the body can actually use.
Yeah.
So that can cause dysfunction. So that's when you now start having excess glucose, and it can now lead to what we call hyperinsulinemia, because when the body senses that there's too much food, there's too much glucose, there's more fat than I need, the body now stores it. Right? Yeah. So the body now stores that fat, and the chemical, the hormone really that the body uses to store this excess energy is insulin. Okay, so there's now an increase in insulin released in the body to be able to manage this excess food that the person has taken in. Okay. So that now contributes to overweight. Okay. So you now find out that the person starts increasing vertically, and horizontally rather. The person starts to increase horizontally. So the person can now have, because the insulin is now more than the body can handle, eventually, it's just like consistently flogging somebody. For some people, when you flog, the person just turns his face away. As in, they enter.
Yes. Yes.
So when the body keeps releasing insulin to manage this excess sugar, after some time, the body becomes resistant to this insulin. So the person now develops what we call insulin resistance. Yeah. And that now leads to diabetes.
Okay.
So you've seen it now that the person can become overweight because he has taken in too much. The person can develop diabetes. Now, this excess food puts stress on the body.
Oh.
Yes, put stress on, because the body is trying to contend with so much information, So things like that now start causing heart rate to go up, blood pressure to go up. Now, I also mentioned that when the body has stored some of this glucose, it converts some of it to fat.
Yeah.
The person starts to contend with what we call high cholesterol, because the person's cholesterol goes up. So you now have somebody who has high blood sugar, high blood pressure, hyperlipidemia. The person is fat. So this is the way it goes. So I would usually say that it's not what we do once that upsets the body really, but what we do consistently. So say, for example, the person one day ate overfeeding, but that's not his pattern. This is not likely to happen because the body just manages that immediate event and then stabilizes. But by the time the person consistently takes in more food than he requires, or another thing is excess processed food, what we call ultra processed food. So your fizzy drinks, your biscuits, junk, all this junk. What they do is that they spike the blood sugar. So when the person takes it in, the sugar goes up. Insulin gets released to try to manage it. So it goes through the same pathway. So both the person that is eating too much and then the person that says, I don't used to really eat, is in the same WhatsApp group, So things like that now cause the whole metabolic dysfunction and then ends up in where it gets. That's why the type 2 diabetes takes time to eventually develop. And then the person now contends with that. The weight that we want to lose in 30 days took time to build. It didn't just happen overnight. So these are things that you now say, okay, this person is metabolically dysfunctional, and it affects practically everything in the body.
It seems to me from what you said that most metabolic dysfunction issue or metabolic related issue stems from nutrition.
Yes. Now, nutrition is one leg of the problem. So say, for example, the person is not exercising.
Okay.
Muscles are what we call, some people say they are glucose sink. Okay. When a person exercises, the person tends to burn glucose, tends to burn fat. But a person who doesn't do any form of physical activity now aggravates the whole problem. So you're not exercising, you're not eating so healthy, and then some people will say, I don't want to carry weight. I don't want to do any form of resistance training. Now, resistance training also helps to manage glucose, helps to prevent insulin resistance. So both the person that is not eating well, person that is not exercising, the person that is stressed. It's interesting how much stress really affects our metabolism, because when the person is frequently stressed, right, what we call chronic stress hormone goes up because the body says, there's problem, we need to survive, so the brain sends signals that there's a threat, we need to manage it. So now this would have been okay if it was maybe I saw a snake and then I need to run, because when I see a snake, my heart rate goes up.
Yeah.
The reason my heart rate goes up is that stress hormone tells me that everything needs to happen sharp.
Correct.
So that manages that, and I'm safe, right? But when my body is chronically stressed, like every day, I'm facing one stress, maybe financial problem. Yeah, I get it. When Tinubu's Nigeria now, but financial problem, work problems, these are things that might last for a long time. Relationship issues, a juvenile child. So that person is now chronically stressed. So stress hormone goes up. When stress hormone goes up, insulin resistance is likely to occur. With insulin resistance, but the fact that the person can no longer sleep well, the person starts to add weight, the person that is chronically stressed is not even thinking of eating healthy, the person that is chronically stressed cannot even sleep or cannot sleep well. So it's just like this thing feeds the other thing feeds the other thing. So it just goes round and on and on and on. So the person is now, it's not like you're in a mad cycle, just going on and on and on. So that's just part of it.
Again, I want to get some clarity. Particularly as you talked about, I asked the question of nutrition, then you said it's on one leg. Then there's issue of exercise, right? Now, so I want to make reference to the monks. They hardly exercise. They are in this realm where they are constantly meditating. They eat less. Okay, they eat little or less. Okay. Then because I had this boss before, who hardly eats. So anytime he's hungry, you see him sipping green tea. Is that a sipping green tea, or there's this particular biscuit he likes? So you see him take maybe 2, and that's all. You might see him maybe take another one around 4 in there. He doesn't eat. He's lean. He doesn't exercise, but he appears fit. So likewise, the monk, they eat little. They are on regimented diet. They had a little or no exercise, but they are fit. So what role does that, what's the link, what's the relationship between food now and nutrition in this context for this kind of people?
Okay. It's good you said he appears fit.
Yeah.
Fitness is not something you ascertain by looking at a person. Because if it was, you just see a slim person and say this one is fit. That a person looks slim doesn't necessarily mean the person is fit.
Okay.
Yes. It's even been said that an overweight person who exercises is likely to live longer than a slim person who doesn't exercise.
Okay.
That's on one leg. Then secondly, we tend to see part of these things as individuals. So you see a part of your friend's life. You don't get to see the other part.
Yeah.
You don't know whether he's contending with chronic waist pain. You don't know whether he's contending with poor sleep. You understand? So the fact that you see him and he's looking slim and he's looking, you don't know what else, what he's telling his doctor on the other side. Do you understand? That's one. Then 2 is that for the monks, generally, their diet is restricted. Now, there's something interesting about mostly plant-based food.
Okay.
They give us all these what we call antioxidants, right? So antioxidants like this, it helps to balance out all these things.
Okay.
So by the time somebody is taking green tea, not slimming tea, because sometimes people tend to mix it up.
Yeah.
Now, when a person is taking green tea, a lot of green teas have antioxidants.
Yeah.
So it kind of helps to balance out these free radicals, which are a major cause of some of the diseases that come with destabilized metabolism. So both the fact that he's doing that, and then they are in a place where they are kind of insulated from stress. Yes, because they're not thinking about how to pay school fees, how to contend with a stressful boss. So they are not really stressed. So they have time to sleep well. They have time to meditate. Now, meditation is a powerful stress fighter, so to say. So when they do that, it also now helps to balance out the other part of it. Do you understand? So even if they are not as physically active as they should be, but the other parts of their life kind of helps to neutralize this other part that they may be missing out on. And then, sometimes we think of exercise as when I stand up and I jog. Simply taking walks is fine. And some of these monks, they do that. They go on their prayer walks around their monastery. This counts. Now, that walk that somebody sees as insignificant, it is a lot as far as it is consistent. The one that might not really be so much is the one that you do once in a year. But the fact that the person does this consistently, so it helps to balance out all these things.
I want to understand. There's this research that I really like. It says that people have relationship with food in ways that it makes them feel. So the same relationship people have with a romantic partner, the same way they feel
about food
is the same way they feel about food. So that's why it seems to me that we are battling with some form of a psychological issue here, because we overload ourselves with food, eventually comes out in a bad metabolic health, which somehow reflects in our poor choices and poor health. So it seemed to me that the belly infrastructure we have is a dysfunctional metabolism. So can you explain to us how the poor choice or the relationship we have with food, how it is making our stomach, our belly systems dysfunctional, and how it ultimately goes into the big mansions we are seeing extended in front of so many people around the world? It's not just in Nigeria. It's all over the place.
Around the world. Now, I want to first of all comment on something you mentioned about our romantic relationship with food.
Yeah.
Now, somebody who takes a lot of Coke likes to take Coke.
Yeah.
And it's not just because the person likes Coke. It triggers a part of the brain, the dopamine center.
Okay.
So the person now finds out that every meal I have to take Coke. And every meal I don't take Coke is boring. Not because the person just wants that, but because there's already a center in the brain that has been fired up by repeatedly taking Cokes.
Correct.
Which is another thing that happens when we indulge frequently in junk food. You find out that eventually, any day we don't take it, we're not okay. Because we have now programmed our brain to enjoy junk food. It actually, there's a chemical relationship. So it's not just that the person just wants to take Coke. No, the person has now wired his brain to not eat without Coke.
Interesting.
So if there's no Coke there or there's no shawarma
nothing
there,
happens.
I never set.
Wow.
So that's how that happens.
Yeah.
Now moving on from that, the whole big stomach thing. There's a tribe that feels that I need my big stomach to tie my wrapper. Yeah. Sadly, big stomach is not a cosmetic. It's not just cosmetic. Especially my gender, we want to look trim in our clothes. So, we now tie the stomach with gidul or with corset. That's just for the aesthetics, right? But big belly is not just about aesthetics. It's your health. Like, it is your life there. Because now when a person has big stomach, the person is at risk of a lot of illnesses. Both diabetes from insulin resistance, high blood pressure, hyperlipidemia. So what happens is that the stomach fat is what we call, there's a visceral fat, right? So when a person has big tummy, the person has high visceral fat load. So visceral fat means viscera is the intestines, the organs in the abdomen, right? So when a person has high visceral fat, it means that the organs in the stomach are all surrounded by fat. And any fat that is in the stomach is unhealthy, right? Now, the more, the worse. So when a person has big tummy, the fact that the person has high visceral fat means that now this visceral fat is not quiet fat. That's the problem. Now, unlike the fat in the arm, where the only problem I might have is that my hand is like Christian mother hand. Now, the fat in the stomach releases what we call inflammatory chemicals. So what these inflammatory chemicals do is that they send messages to the body that there's problem here, everything is not so okay. So the body now responds in several different ways. It now causes blood pressure to spike, causes heart rate to go up. Now, this same fat also goes to the liver.
The same visceral fat.
Now
the fat living here is a living organism.
Yes, it's metabolically active. It's not quiet. It's there doing damage.
Go ahead.
The same fat goes to the liver. Now, there's been a recent rise in fatty liver disease. Unfortunately, this is how it starts. So that fat feeds the same blood vessel that drains this abdomen goes to the liver. So this visceral fat is going to the liver. What does it do in the liver? It stays in the liver. It gets saved in the liver. Because one of the functions of the liver is to store fat. The reason is so that when the body doesn't have food, when maybe the person is not eating, this same fat gets broken down, right? So the fat goes to the liver and gets stored. This same fat also gets converted to cholesterol. So we now see some people when they're marketing oil, they say low cholesterol oil.
Yeah.
That's just a marketing gimmick, really. So the cholesterol is the one that your body is now, the liver is now converting to lipids. because it's trying to save fat. So some of it gets converted to what we call lipids. So the person now comes out with hyperlipidemia. Now, this same visceral fat goes into the blood vessels.
Wow.
Right? So the person is at risk of plaque formation, what we call plaque formation. So what plaque formation means is that the fat will now start staying in corners of the blood vessels. So when that fat stays in corner of the blood vessel, it can do several things. It causes the blood vessel to narrow.
Yeah.
So when the blood vessel is narrow, the heart now has to do more work to pump blood. Because the heart must pump blood to the body. The heart is now fighting its own problem. The vessels are fighting their own problem. So the person is at risk of high blood pressure. That same person that is at risk of high blood pressure is also at risk of stroke. Because the same plaque that gathers and blocks blood vessel in the hand also blocks blood vessel in the brain. Person can come down with stroke. So I wish people would move away from looking at tummy fat as it will spoil the look of my clothes, and get to see that when you have tummy fat, it is something that your body's giving you a message that I'm not okay. We should do something about it. So that's what we should do. We should now start working on reducing it. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that by the time you now consciously work on it, it starts to reduce gradually.
Interesting. The belly fat is one of the organs in the body we don't know about.
It is.
You talked about the body metabolism being a system where we get energy, use energy, store in most cases, just expend management of energy.
Yeah.
So it means that our whole body is just about energy management.
Yes.
Right?
Basically.
So, and when that system is malfunctioning, it can come down with belly fat, just like we've established. So why does it take long time to reduce belly fat? Comfortable with mine, because just like you said, belly fat has a lot of issues, from back pain to fatigue to chronic inflammation. So I'm no longer comfortable now. I want to reduce it, but there is a pain of removal. Okay, the accumulation might be easy because you're just eating, you're just indulging. So, but to get the stomach down is not a big problem. So the options, what are the options? The liposuction, is it part of it? What are the natural options or lifestyle options to reducing belly fat?
Okay, the belly fat doesn't accumulate overnight. So really, it would be unfair and unrealistic to try to get rid of it overnight. So first of all, we have to break the cycle of what caused this belly fat to accumulate before you now talk of getting rid of it, right? So we already explained now that when you're taking a lot of food or taking a lot of ultra processed food, it contributes to the belly fat accumulation. So what do? You now break that cycle. Minimize, I would usually say, to the barest minimum, ultra processed food. Now, some people say you only live once, somebody should not enjoy this life. Well, it depends on what you call enjoyment. Though, if enjoying now puts your health at risk later, really is it worth it? So, cut to the barest minimum, ultra processed food. Then eat whole food, like natural food. Your beans, your rice, whole grains like oats, brown rice, fruits, vegetables, lots of vegetables. So when the nutrition is better, that means belly fat is not likely to keep accumulating. That's on that hand. 2 is stress. Stress should be managed. Now, the reason why stress is really important is that I already mentioned that by the time a person is stressed, it causes cortisol, the stress hormone, to spike. Cortisol spikes, insulin needs to also go high. Insulin resistance develops, it causes this whole accumulation. So you now need to break that stress problem. So now manage stress better. Now, it's, of course, I can't say that you should get rid of the stress, because sometimes it might be your partner stressing you. You need to throw your partner away. So find better ways to manage the problem. That's 2. 3 is sleep. Now, it's funny also how sleeping is a means to weight loss. One would think that if you sleep too much, you gain weight. But if you don't sleep well, so you consistently sleep less than 5 hours every day, your body is now stressed. Because during sleep is when the body rejuvenates itself. But then you're not sleeping, the body feels, okay, this body is stressed, releases stress hormones, and then the cycle goes on again. So one also needs to sleep very well, like 7 to 9 hours is the recommendation for adults. Then exercise. It's good that exercise is not just for the fat people, because interestingly, somebody can look slim and you've seen them now that they look slim but they have belly. So you need to exercise. Now, exercising does two things. One is that it reverses that insulin resistance that was caused by this whole problem. Two is that I already mentioned that exercise helps to burn calories, right? So with exercising, you're burning calories. So the burning calories causes that fat to get broken down, and then it helps to get rid of that fat. So that takes care of that. So both sleep, both stress management, both nutrition, both exercise, and please do resistant exercises. Resistance exercises also help. So it's not, and then, people tend to think that, I want to reduce my stomach fat. I want to go and do 500 crunches. Now, crunches by itself would not reduce stomach fat. What crunches will do is that it will make your abdomen strong. It will make the abdominal muscles strong. So it will improve the core strength, to improve the back posture. It will improve all of that. Then it might burn a little energy. Because when you're doing, now if you compare somebody who is running for 1 hour or running for 30 minutes or taking walk for 30 minutes, the calories that person would burn compared to somebody who sits down in one place to do crunches, the person who did aerobics burns more calories. So though you're doing crunches and you might expend some calories, yes, but it's not going to be so significant to burning that fat because the body doesn't spot reduce. People tend to think that, if I want to reduce, because especially my gender, they say it's only my tummy I want to remove. I don't want anything to happen to my behind. But the body, it doesn't work that way. The body chooses where it wants to remove fat from. So if you don't exercise and be doing a sit-up, it's going to take you a longer time, if at all. But if you have adjusted your diet and you've cut down calories, it will eventually happen, but it'll be faster when you exercise. And then resistant exercises helps to build muscle. Right? And muscle, the more muscle a person has, the easier it is for that person to burn fat. Reason being that even when the person is at rest, the body keeps expending fat. So when you build more muscles, the body has to burn more calories to take care of those muscles. So that means that person is losing more even while sitting down doing nothing, So it's good that you balance each of these things to help you lose that fat. And I would also mention that, people tend to now resort to fast, sharp practices. Now drink slimming teas, this one tea, the other one tea. Now, slimming tea, it would help lose weight, but it's water weight. So the person just loses a lot of water. What do the slimming teas? They tend to make a person go to toilet frequently. So you go to the toilet like 5 times a day, 10 times a day.
You think it's working?
I think you're lighter. Just stop first. Just stop first. Once you just stop, you just see the way to come down, good measure, press and shake it together and running over. Because you did not do anything really. You just lost water weight. By the time you now stop drinking that slimming tea, you're back to where you started from. So what was the point really? That's one. Then two is that I would usually also say that most slimming tea companies, they are profit driven. So if in the process of losing weight, the person loses his kidney, it's not their business. Their own is, maybe you lost weight. Because what they are there for is to make you lose weight, not to protect your kidney. Unfortunately, a lot of these teas, the body has to handle the toxins you are taking in. So both the liver and the kidney are putting it at risk. When you finish drinking slimming tea, you're not thin. You now come and contend with liver problem or kidney problem. Which one is the worst evil? It's not better to lose it gradually over time that you accumulated it than to lose it in 3 days and then have to contend with the long-term problems. So just gradually, like the weight didn't come one day, it's not going to go in one day. Of course, liposuction. Now, when you finish doing liposuction, I know somebody that did a procedure to help her stomach this stomach tying that they commonly call it. She did it. She lost weight. Unfortunately, the stomach is an elastic organ. So now when you do that procedure, one of the things they'll tell you is to eat in small portions. Right? Now when you eat in small portions, eventually, boy, this shawarma is looking good though. You collect. The stomach starts to expand again. So that's even small one they left for you before. It will start to expand.
Correct.
So eventually the weight you lost, you're going to gain it back if you're not careful. So in the end, you cannot do liposuction, which is to remove the fat, without modifying your lifestyle. The fat will come back. So even if a person goes to do liposuction and he's lucky to meet a good surgeon, he can lose the fat. But if he's not careful, if he doesn't watch his diet, if he doesn't exercise, if he doesn't sleep well, he's going to come back. Will you be going for liposuction every 2 years? So that's the problem with that.
Okay, but the procedure is a healthy alternative.
It is a good alternative, but there's something about working to get something. Like if I work to get something, I'll be careful to protect it.
Yeah.
So if I worked hard to get my flat tummy, my 6 packs, I'm going to want to protect it. But if I walk into on the surgeon's table and then they give me 6 packs, I don't understand the stress involved in getting 6 packs. So I may not be so careful compared to somebody who worked the process. In the end, even if you did not work the process and then you went to the surgeon's table and they gave you 6 packs, if you don't do something about protecting that 6 packs, it will turn to one round back again.
Okay, interesting. Now, help us understand what mental health actually is. What is mental health?
Mental health is a process or a situation where a person has well-being in the way he thinks, in the way he feels, and the way he acts. So a process is a situation or a state, really, a state of well-being, like the way you think has well-being, the way you feel has well-being, and the way you act. And so that's stability, where you're thinking okay, you're feeling okay, and then you're acting okay. Now imagine if you're sitting down here and I was walking down that way and I mistakenly stepped on you. The way a person who has a mental health instability will react is different from the person who is stable. You understand? So that's what I mean by the way we feel and the way we act. So I might step on you mistakenly and then you give me a dirty slap. How dare you? Are you blind? But I step on somebody else and the person is like, oh, you made a mistake, and the person understands that it was actually a mistake. So those people will act in different ways. So that's essentially what mental health talks about.
Okay, and today, it seems to me that the Gen Z has come with a lot of issues around mental health. We are the millennials. I think I'm the millennials. And somehow, maybe I might say we kind of subdued ours. Maybe not that it wasn't there, but we found ways to adapt quickly with it, which this Gen Z is finding a little bit difficult managing and adapting. So what do you think changed? Is it parenting? Is it gene? Or is it the environment?
Okay. Everything has a role. But, one of the things that older generations had, I think they had a bit more of, is resilience. So we were faced with more adverse situations and we found ways to adapt. But the Gen Zs, for example, when I was doing my project in school, the way I had to source for materials, like I had to source for materials, so I used to write that project. It built my capacity. But now, the Gen Z doesn't need to source for anything. He sits down, presses something, and then with ChatGPT these days, or just sit down where you are and ask Chat, okay, my project topic is why a fan should not be black. ChatGPT will give you both introduction, both literature review,
give you everything.
Give you references. So now the difference now is that you didn't have the Gen Zs they don't have to go through those rigors that we went through. Like, I remember then in school, we were the ones that, I went to a boarding school, right? We grew our food. We will go to the farm, we will clear it, we will plant cassava, we will take care of the cassava.
In a secondary school?
Yes, in a secondary school. We will harvest it. We'll take it for processing, both the grinding, the frying, everything. That's what we did in secondary school. Tell a Gen Z to do it now. You're stressing now that you can't do that. So things like that build our resilience. So we are better able to adapt to stressful situations compared to the person who sat down and the Gary landed on his table. So that's what I would say is one of the major reasons that it's different now. Now, of course, parenting plays a role. A lot of people, they have it at their beck and call. So their parents, the typical millennial will say, I suffered to get this thing. I don't want my children to suffer.
True.
So the millennial parent that went through stress to get certain things removes that stress from their child.
Yeah.
I remember then we used to travel a distance to fetch water. We'll put it on our head. take it to the house.
With wheelbarrow
sometimes.
Yes.
You know, but these days it's not like that. And then because we now say, I don't want my children to go through what I went through. I know what my eyes saw. So those same things that kind of helps to build us, we remove it from them. So that's where parenting plays a role. And then there's a lot of permissiveness in parenting now. So we allow a lot of things to slide. Correct. Why would my child wash plates when I've employed somebody to do it? Meanwhile, it is responsibility that builds a person.
Correct.
We now remove that responsibility from that child. We cannot expect to raise a responsible child because he grows up tomorrow and then things are not going his way. He smashes everything. Like, why would things not go my way? But responsibility would have helped to avert those things. So parenting plays a role. Environment plays a role. If I grew up in a wealthy environment, I have people like this, and then this is what I get to see. I would not expect any less for myself. So both parenting and environment plays a role in the breakdown these days. Now, small things, you say, my mental health. Why did you not come to work on time? My boss is asking me how my mental health.
I'm telling you.
So
does gene has a role to play?
I wouldn't say gene has a role, but gene can be modified, what we call epigenetics. Right? So gene can be modified by environment. You understand? So gene primarily wouldn't play a role. But now with repeated exposure, eventually things start to get modified. Then so gene may now come in, but even at that, it is still minimal. Again, still environment that affected the gene, right? So once environment is there playing a huge role, there's really nothing much that can be said about the genes.
Yes, because I have seen cases where a 19-year-old cuts herself repeatedly because she doesn't know what happens to her. When she gets this smoothly, she starts cutting herself. And I've also seen a guy who is in the habit of also cutting himself, deep cuts. Just as a measure of understanding what is happening to him and trying to come back for what is happening to him. I've also seen these people, according to them, they don't take drugs. So most times I wonder, how does this mental health degenerate to the level that it is now called anxiety, it is called depression, it is called schizophrenia, whatever it is called. Take us through what happens from the life of a young person, particularly maybe that of the guy say that the family is toxic, so he doesn't like going home. So because the father is toxic, he doesn't even like talking to the father, but he prefers to stay in school. And whenever this idea comes to you, he start cutting himself. What happens in the mind or in the brain that takes someone from these small issues of managing their mental state to the level of anxiety, depression?
Okay, by the time a person starts to cut themselves, the person has now moved from one stage to another. Now, things like this usually starts gradually. Right? Now, you mentioned somebody who has a toxic environment. So that means that the stress hormones are high. The whole neurotransmitter. Now, there's what we call neurotransmitters in the brain, both the serotonin, the dopamine. So when stress levels are high, it interferes with these neurotransmitters. Now, what serotonin does is that it helps to stabilize mood. What dopamine does is that it helps you to have pleasure. To have pleasure in the simple things of life, right? So, for example, watching a bird fly, somebody else will be like, what's all that? What's that? But somebody else derives pleasure in just watching a bird fly, just watching a tomato seed that he planted sprouts, right? That's because that person's dopamine centers are still very functional, right? Now, one of the things that interferes with these neurotransmitters is environment. So when a person is repeatedly exposed to toxic environment, that person is stressed, chronically stressed. I mentioned it as one of the things that causes a person to be stressed, right? So when the person is chronically stressed, cortisol goes up. Both the cortisol that is going up, the person is not sleeping well, the person may not be eating well. Things like that would now start affecting those neurotransmitters production. Now, both the stress hormone interferes with the neurotransmitters production. Now, the person who doesn't eat well, most of the chemicals, the neurotransmitters in the brain, the hormones in the body, they get their substrates. That's the primary component they use in making that from the nutrition we get. So he is not eating well. He might not be sleeping well. what happens during sleep? The body rejuvenates, the emotions get regulated, the mood gets regulated, the memory gets consolidated. So that person is just, so everything is just there messed up. And now gradually, that person now progresses to cutting himself. Now when you have somebody already cutting themselves, it means that person is depressed or anxious. So that's already a full diagnosis of a mental health problem.
Yeah.
So that kind of person now needs help. If not, the person is going to keep deteriorating until he actually offs himself. So if the cycle is not broken, which is addressing those issues, the person is just going to keep deteriorating. Now what some people call toxic environment, a different person may not see it as toxic environment.
Yeah.
For example, a mother was sending her child to a fashion designing school. I was trying to get the name they call it these days. And then she wrote the list of things that the fashion designer should not expose the daughter to. My daughter would not come before 10 o'clock because she wakes up at 9 o'clock and she has to eat her breakfast. My daughter is not going to help people to sweep the place where people are working because that is not her responsibility. So the mother wrote a long list of things. So basically what she expected her daughter to do is to come cross her leg and watch what is happening, which is what she had been doing obviously with her daughter. So that kind of person doesn't even have any form of resilience. So if anything just shakes the person small, person, toxic environment, my boss did so, how can you ask me to sweep? How can you ask me to, so now that's what has happened to the younger generation, because we've insulated them from everyday responsibility. So their resilience is low. So that little thing that maybe I would see as normal everyday life, they see it as this is overwhelming. Like, why would I wake up by 6 a.m. to go to work?
True.
True. So things like that. So the fact that they see it as overwhelming, their body has taken it as overwhelming. So the stress hormone will still go up. So whether you say that, hey, how can they say because you're coming to work by 7, you're saying it's stressful. But it is stress to them because that's not what they are used to. But me, in my secondary school, we're waking up by 5. If you don't wake up by 5 and go and fetch water, you will not bath now. But that is me. I've been programmed to see it as normal. But they have, why would I be going to work by 8 o'clock? Who died? So that stresses them. And then the whole system then they now go into the extremes. And coupled with the fact that these days there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
In our younger days, the need to have so amount in your account and then show off this kind of money wasn't there. But now it's there. So especially with the guys, if they don't have this amount of money to be thrown around, it is a stressor to them. They're now pressured. So the whole thing goes on. Or if a girl has not hitched a rich guy, she's pressured. Like, everybody's flipping iPhone 17 Pro Max and I'm not. So it's so the whole, unfortunately, the system just seems to be rigged against them. So we now have to ensure that they build capacity. So we who are raising these younger children, we should help them to build capacity so that both the pressure that they are going to be faced with, they are better able to adapt to it. You understand?
True.
So the pressure, both the daily activities of life, they don't see it as stressful. This will now help them to build their own mental health.
True. Very true. Because I remember, just like you said, I also remembered growing up, I think much of our self-identity came from within. Now, there's this concept of meaning ladder, which I learned from one of my mentors. He talked about the meaning ladder, how we interpret things, because meaning is first language, then identity. Because the guy I talked about who is cutting himself has his father demanding responsibility from him, which he sees as stressor.
So much.
His father demands that he braces up and stop blaming events and start taking responsibility for his life. But he sees his father as pushing him too much,
so hard,
stressing him. So he would rather, and he sees his father as hateful. Okay, my father hates me. That's why he's always pushing me, dragging me. But in our own days, it was different. So we interpreted it differently. We saw it as love from my parents, even though regardless of how he came,
we still interpret it.
Yes, regardless of how he came,
of course,
sometimes he came with some strokes of care. So, but at the end of the day, we interpreted it as love, and so that our internal system will interpret it as such, so it doesn't affect who we are, our self-esteem. And that is what is largely missing in today. And again, there's another good book that talks about the cybernetics by one Dr. Malt. I think he's a plastic surgeon. He talked about, he has done several plastic surgery in his lifetime, but he found out that you can have a plastic makeover, whatever. But if your idea of self doesn't change, nothing about you changes.
Yeah, changes.
Okay, so it seems to be a lot of issue happening with today's world. Social media is doing the training and teaching now. Just like you said, pressure. People are seeing flashy cars on Instagram. Your 19-year-old is making 1 billion. Why can't I make 1 billion? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? So all these are putting a lot of pressure on young people to meet up, but slow down.
Yeah.
Life is in stages.
Yes.
Things done. In fact, there's another interesting concept that I also learned recently from a Stanford psychologist. And I think he buttresses biology too. She said, life was designed to get better with age. Yes, because as you age, if you've been doing the right thing, in fact, money and health is actually designed to get better with age, according to her. If you start investing early, at around 45, 50, you should be consolidating. If you start taking care of your health early, it also compounds in the right direction. Towards that age, you should be enjoying stability and still feeling strong and all that. So to the young people,
I want it today.
Life is a stage. Everything is a process. Right, so let's make progress. As this Dr. Christopher Palmer, he's a Harvard psychiatrist and researcher working at the interface of metabolism and mental health. His research is very fascinating. There seems to be a link between metabolism or metabolic health and mental health. According to him, he said in his work, he has seen their cases of mental health reversed by ketogenic diet.
True.
What is your own take on that?
Well, if you're asking me my take on ketogenic diet, it's going to be a bit different. Now, why I have a problem with ketogenic diet is sustainability.
Okay.
Now, there was a time where ketogenic diet was a rave. There was a time when it was. But now it's not so much, it's not so popular. Reason is ketogenic is not sustainable. You will not take granules. No, I think you take granules. You will not take carbohydrates in any way.
Okay, yeah.
Ow! How long are you going to do that for?
Say how? In Nigeria.
How now? So even if you get the benefits, because of course ketogenic diet has some benefits aside the weight it will help you drop. But the sustainability is my worry. It's not sustainable. You're going to eat cabbage, swallow, coconut, this one. So it's not sustainable. How long are you going to keep blending cabbage to get fufu? How are you going to be doing that the rest of your life? So that's the problem I have with it. But then the benefits, because when you modify what you eat really, it goes a long way in affecting your general health. So the benefits I cannot deny, but the sustainability is always my problem. So anybody I'm counseling on lifestyle modification, I try to counsel that person on sustainable lifestyle measures, because it is what you do every day that is going to affect your health, not what you do and stop. When you do it and then stop it, you might just reverse, go back to where you're coming from, or the benefit ends when you end. So that's the thing. So, but the benefits you would get, of course, it's likely going to be beneficial in mental health. Now, metabolism, metabolic health has a very key role in our mental health. Now, for one thing, people who are stressed, they are likely to add a lot of weight. They are likely to have high cholesterol, cortisol levels. Now, cortisol, I already mentioned, affects the neurotransmitters in the brain. So the neurotransmitters are those feel-good hormones, the serotonin, the dopamine. So it affects it. So when a person is not eating right, or when a person is chronically stressed, it affects that, and then affects. So when the person's serotonin is low, or the person's dopamine is low, the person is a moody, nervous wreck. Especially when it is sustained, of course.
Moody, nervous wreck.
Yeah. So when it is sustained, the person doesn't get maximum enjoyment from life, because he's very sad, or he's too anxious to benefit the little pleasures that life has to offer. So there's that. Then the brain depends on what we feed it, the nutrients we feed it. Now, say for example, you take fizzy drink a lot. I already mentioned that when you do that, or ultra processed food, the person's sugar spikes. Person's sugar spikes, person feels energetic, feels like I can do everything, I'm sharp, I'm strong. Yeah. But the problem with that spike is that once it goes up, after some time it goes down.
Yeah.
So when it goes down again, the person now feels exhausted. There's what we call in our local parlance brain fog.
Okay.
So the person feels exhausted, feels irritable, is not able to concentrate.
Yeah.
So the body nutrients, the stress, and then people who are not sleeping well. Now during sleep, the body repairs itself.
I'm sure.
So when you're not sleeping well, it affects your metabolic health because the body cannot repair itself. The hormones that should be released. Now the hormones, a lot of them, they have timing, right? Okay. So when you're not sleeping well, what should be released during sleep hours is not released well or is not released at all. So that would now also affect the person's mental health. Now, exercise is not just for aesthetics. It affects the endorphins, it affects serotonin, it affects dopamine. Now, what happens is that people who exercise are more likely to have a better mood, not because they met with friends really, but because exercising causes release of these hormones I talked about. So you now find out that one of the ways to even manage stress is to exercise, because exercise will trigger release of those hormones, and that would affect. So if a person who is not exercising has a bad metabolic health, and then that would also affect the person's mental health. Now, another key thing in lifestyle medicine we look at is social connectedness. Now, these days, now we seem to be paranoid people. Everybody is seen as a hater. My neighbor greeted me with his nose the other day. I think he's a hater. Meanwhile, you don't even know whether your neighbor was having kata.
Yeah.
And it just came out as a nasal greeting.
Yeah.
You know, so we now start isolating ourselves.
True.
We don't want to interact with our neighbors because we feel that, no, he will not be happy that I bought a new car. We don't want to interact with our colleagues because we feel that my boss likes me better. Yeah. So we're now so we tend to isolate ourselves. But sadly, social connectedness helps to release some of these hormones that also helps to improve mood, which is why what happens with a good number of Nigerians who japa is that they contend with depression. Reason is they are alone. They are not able to interact with people.
Yeah.
So it's not just because they are in a different environment really, but because that social connection is not there. So these are some of the things. Now, substance use. Now, another key thing we talk about that destabilizes metabolic health is substance use. These things people smoke affects these neurotransmitters, both the alcohol. Now, alcohol will initially make a person feel good, but alcohol distorts the metabolism, and then that will affect the mental health. The one that we take that makes us feel high is just temporary, Abi, but then it's now interferes with these neurotransmitters release, and these neurotransmitters are very key in mood regulation, right? So by the time a person is now involved in alcohol, persistent alcohol use, lots of alcohol use, substance abuse, the person is distorting that, also introducing a lot of free radicals. Now, what these free radicals do is that they cause inflammation. So the person has introduced chronic inflammation into his body. So the body just feels everything is just off in the body. So that affects the metabolic health and goes back to affect the mental health. So everything just, this one affects this one. It's just like a cycle, right? So everything has to be managed for the mental health to be stable. One of the things that we cannot take away from life as far as we're here is stressor. We must be faced with stressor. But a person who has a stable mental health is better able to handle those stressors than somebody who is already a wreck, that is already messed up. That person is now, so any little thing now further aggravates that problem and then tilts the person to one extreme or the other.
Interesting. You talked about substance use, and that seems to be a very serious matter at hand right now. It's a very serious matter at hand right now. I also have a friend who was telling me last week that on a particular day he had 4 cases he was dealing with in a day.
Yeah.
And these are with young people. Young people. So is it driven by the need to belong?
Substance use. There are several things that would influence it. And sadly, it worries me that that's the epidemic on our hands now. Because in a day in clinic, there's no how. I won't say at least 2. No how.
Every day
Every day I run clinic. In fact, The one that is usually a blessing is if we see people that are taking only one substance, because a lot of times they're taking several, from TM to Swinol to Kana to MJ to Ice to Molly.
The names are too many now.
Oh, there are many. It's fast. Sometimes when they mention one, I'll tell them, okay, please explain. What does it look like? How do you take it? So there's a lot of drug abuse in our society today. Now, I think it starts a lot of times with the need to belong. You know, one of the things that drives teenagers and young adults is their peers.
Yeah.
So my friends are doing it. I'm not doing it. One is that your friends will yab you.
Yeah.
You be JJC.
True.
You be Jew.
Very
so
true.
they will yab you. So you don't want to, and then because young people like the association so much, they don't want to be alienated.
Yeah,
so they want to do it. So feel among. And then it starts with, okay, guy, just try this thing. Just try them. And then you take it, and then the person coughs, or the person, and then they tell you, no worry, when you take them again, you go be all right. And that's how it starts. And then they take it, and then they take it, and then they are hooked. Now, I would also say that parenting plays a very key role.
Okay.
Yes. Now, one of the things that would help a young adult to not use this substance is a good sense of self.
Yeah.
So when I know who I am, and
True.
I know that what I take doesn't define me,
Yeah.
it will be difficult for somebody to convince me to take something I already know is dangerous. So if we have parents who are able to bring up children that have a good sense of self, that are self-confident,
Sure.
that have good self-esteem,
Sure.
it would help. Because this substance thing, it worries me. I had a patient that said he takes a card of tramadol, and on a normal day he can take a card and half. This is a card.
One full card.
One full card. I was looking at him. Now this card is 100 milligram. That's each capsule.
For one capsule.
Yes, each capsule is 100 milligram. So that means he takes one, and it comes as 10. Takes 10 capsules
1,000.
a day. Some days he takes 10 plus 5. I was looking at him. And then he says because TM, the way TM does is that it makes them feel hyper.
Okay.
So it affects his sleep. He's not able to sleep well. It also affects his appetite because TM makes you feel that you're okay, everything is irate. So he now started taking MJ. Because
another nomenclature.
They call it MJ, some call it Mary Jane.
Oh my God.
So he took that one to help him to eat. So that when he says when he takes MJ, he's able to eat very well. He was also on Swinol. And
one
then he
person?
said, so this was as recent as, was it Friday or Thursday? Very recently, this last week here. He also took he said, occasionally, I used to take codeine. What's going on here? And I asked him, I said, okay, when do you intend to stop? No, I said, why do you take it? He said, when I don't think, stress only let me see road. This boy is a student. Yes. I said, please tell me, what are you thinking about? He said, how to get money now, how to make money, how to impress people around.
Wow.
And then I said, okay, when do you intend to stop? He said, never know, Sha. I'm not yet sure.
You never know.
Because these drugs, it makes them, there's a way it makes them feel. So when they are talking to you, they are up there really. So it's sad. You see, drugs, very sad. So what I try to do is, whenever I have teenagers in my clinic, I talk to them about drugs. I first of all find out, okay, do you have friends who are using these things? And some of them will tell me yes, but they don't take. I said, the problem is, after some time, they will take. Because that's what happens.
Yeah.
So I now try to counsel them on the reason why they should not even start. Because once they have started, it's difficult to stop.
Yeah.
The reason why they should not start, the reason why they should stand firm and possibly dissociate from those friends.
Stay away from such.
Yes. Because it is best not to start. That's when it's easiest. But once they have started, there's nothing they cannot do.
And the funny thing is that on the economy scale of people who take this, they don't understand the economies involved, because most people who trade on these drugs don't take it.
They don't take it.
So
They don't.
so imagine your foolishness. Someone is selling you something he
cannot
doesn't
take.
take. So as long as you keep taking it, he keeps smiling to the bank.
Money. Yes,
he keeps smiling to the
money.
bank. in all the currencies of
Yes.
the world. He smiles to the bank in dollars, euro, naira,
All
pounds.
of it.
While you are rubbishing your life and getting useless. Maybe you don't know about. People don't know about that.
They don't know.
Because the more you are taking this, the more they're making
More money for me.
It's a big cartel doing that right now.
Serious.
So they are trading and banking on your foolishness, on your on your ignorant self, lacking understanding of who you are.
Because eventually, a student who finds that he no longer has cash, will go and steal.
Yeah.
Because once they are addicted,
True.
they must take it at every cost. So if they have to steal anybody's phone, they have to steal your TV, they have to take it. I had a patient one time. He came with his son. He said his son dropped out of school because of substance. And he asked, okay, what do you want to do? So he said he wants a phone shop. The father opened a phone shop for him, stocked it with phones and then phone accessories. The father was talking to me, he was shedding tears. He said, do you know that in a year, he had run down the shop, everything, including the lights. Because if they don't see what to sell, they can collect the shelf, they go and sell it, they can collect the AC, they go and sell it, they go and meet landlord, please give my remaining rent. He said, during that, in a year, the boy ran down the shop to the ground, that the boy could not bring money that he sold. So when they don't have what to do, they don't have money to pay you.
Because you must sustain the habit. The demand, the habit, the appetite for that. Don't start. I think that's the word.
That's just it. Don't start. Don't even take one.
All right. So talking about mental health care, I think you mentioned it in part. Exercise. What other things can I do? Anyone do? Exercise. To stay mentally, to build mental agility.
Diet. I've come with my diet again. Most of these ultra processed foods, they don't benefit the body in any way. They don't. If anything, they cause more harm. So eat well. Good nutrition. That includes protein, carbs, fiber. Yeah. Exercise. Every day. Now, not just because you want to look good, but because you want to feel good. Yeah. Sleep. The money you don't make today, you make it tomorrow. Please sleep.
You're gonna make it tomorrow.
Please sleep, because it is during sleep that the body gets refreshed. It's during sleep that the hormones are all stabilized. So sleep. Then manage stress better. How can you manage stress, you would say? Now, sometimes the stress is not something you can immediately handle. So it's something you now have to adapt to. So sometimes take deep breaths, especially when you see that your child that tends to trigger you, especially when you see that your boss that can be very rude. Take deep breaths, breathe out. Sometimes listening to music. Now, listening to music is not just because you want to hear somebody singing, but it has a calming effect on the body.
It does.
So calming music would help. Prayer. Somebody's status said it's amazing how prayer calms her down. Yeah. Now, prayer to whatever God you believe in, really, but prayer, the act of prayer, because when you're praying, most often you are calm. Yeah. Meditation also helps. Taking walks also helps. Just come out, plant something. My neighbor, she has a farm, right? Now, sometimes you just come out in the evening, you see her sitting in the farm. And then she said just watching the plants grow makes her feel good. And it's true. Just watching something grow has a calming effect on the mind. You know, so these are some things you can do. You can put music and dance. Really, wahala not they finish. It's people who are alive that have problems. Really. Sure. So just put music, dance. Nobody is bringing camera to come and see whether you dance well or not. It has a calming effect. So these are some of the things we can do to help our mental health.
Thank you for staying by and completing this video. But we have another video somewhere on the screen that will take you deeper into the knowledge that you want that will change your life. So click somewhere on the screen for the next video showing. You will love it. It is about your well-being and the psychology that you need to flourish. This is ULab, and we are here to make sure that your life gets better. Thank you. So click on it somewhere on the screen, and I'll see you there.